New mystery emerges in the Mariana Trench as scientists detect something below 11 kilometers.
Something mechanical just moved deep beneath the Mariana Trench. Right now. Not in a lab, not in shallow water, but at the deepest point on planet Earth, nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, where pressure is so extreme that steel collapses like paper and light has never reached. And cameras finally caught it. For a few seconds, leaked footage showed something crawling through the darkness, not drifting, not floating, not alive, moving. Governments went silent. Corporations abandoned exploration sites. Live feeds went dark without explanation, and no one issued a statement. What did those cameras expose at the deepest place on Earth? Because this wasn't a creature, and it wasn't a submarine. There was no signal, no vessel nearby, no explanation. Just a rhythmic, calculated movement through the deadliest environment on the planet. Then came the lights, then the sounds, then a heat signature rising from the seafloor that matched a signal no country admitted sending. And here's the part that still doesn't make sense. Something answered back, from 11 kilometers below sea level. So what exactly is waking up at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? And why does it seem to know we're watching? But to understand why this discovery terrified scientists, you first have to understand the place where it happened. If there's one place on Earth that refuses to give up its secrets, it's the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on the planet. A black scar in the Pacific Ocean that drops nearly 11,000 meters straight down. So deep that if you placed Mount Everest inside it, the peak wouldn't even break the surface. Down there, the rules of life simply stop working. The pressure is beyond brutal. Every single square inch of space is crushed by the weight of almost 90 elephants. Any unprotected machine would collapse instantly. Any living thing would be flattened before it could even move. The temperature hovers just above freezing. There is no sunlight, no natural sound, no currents strong enough to carry large objects. It is, in every meaningful sense, an alien world. That's why scientists treat this zone with extreme caution. Only a handful of human expeditions have ever reached the bottom. Most research is done remotely, using passive sensors buried in the mud to listen for earthquakes, volcanic shifts, or slow movements in the Earth's crust. And that's exactly how this story began. In late 2024, a network of Japanese seafloor sensors installed by a tectonic monitoring program was quietly collecting routine data near Challenger Deep. These instruments were designed to detect tremors, landslides, and pressure changes in the rock below. They were not designed to detect motion. But one night, something strange appeared in the readings. Not a quake, not a vent eruption, not a collapse. Movement. A slow, rhythmic tick, 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 echoing through the mud. At first, technicians assumed the sensors were malfunctioning. Electronics behave strangely under that much pressure. But when they checked the neighboring stations, the same pattern appeared. Perfectly timed, perfectly spaced, and moving. The disturbance was wide, nearly 10 meters across. It pushed sediment aside with uniform pressure. It traveled in a straight line for almost 12 minutes, then stopped. Then, after a pause, it started again. Currents don't behave like that. Landslides don't stop and restart. Animals don't move in perfectly measured intervals. Whatever this was, it wasn't drifting. It was marching. The sensors flagged the anomaly automatically, and when scientists overlaid the data with satellite traffic logs, the situation became even stranger. There were no ships anywhere near the trench. No research vessels, no military subs, no commercial traffic. AIS tracking showed nothing within hundreds of kilometers. Even China's usually active deep-sea fleet was nowhere close that week, which left one impossible conclusion. Something was moving at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and no human had sent it there. But the real problem wasn't that something was down there. It was that no one on Earth admitted building it.
Once the data reached international research teams, the first reaction was denial. Deep ocean sensors misfire all the time. Pressure glitches, timing errors, phantom vibrations. The simplest explanation was faulty equipment. Except the readings kept coming. Same rhythm, same straight-line path, same start, stop, start pattern. So scientists did what they always do when something impossible occurs. They tried to explain it away. The first theory was biological. The deep sea is still one of the least explored environments on Earth. New species are discovered every year. Some organisms survive pressures that would crush submarines. Xenophyophores grow as large as dinner plates. Amphipods live at depths once thought uninhabitable. So could this be a massive unknown creature? Something armored, ancient, slow-moving? For a moment, that idea fascinated researchers. Then the math ruined it. No biological organism moves with mathematically perfect pacing. Not whales, not squid, not worms, not anything. Living creatures accelerate, hesitate, adjust. Their motion is messy, uneven, reactive. This wasn't. The pacing never varied. The intervals never drifted. The pressure never fluctuated. It moved like a machine executing a program. So attention turned to robotics. Maybe a deep-sea mining crawler. Maybe a research probe that drifted too far. Maybe experimental hardware from a military program. China immediately became the main suspect. Their deepest crawler, the Haiyang Wu, had recently broken records, operating at nearly 6,000 meters. Engineers had been testing new reinforced hulls, new propulsion systems, new autonomous controls. But 6,000 meters is not 11,000. At that depth, pressure more than doubles. Even the strongest known titanium alloys would buckle in seconds. And Chinese officials flatly denied any test anywhere near Challenger Deep. Next came the military theory. Secret cable cutters, mobile trench sensors, silent surveillance platforms. But the Mariana Trench is one of the most monitored regions on the planet. US, Japanese, and Chinese listening stations constantly watch for unauthorized subs. You cannot quietly deploy hardware there without multiple countries noticing, and none of them reported anything. That's when the conversation turned uncomfortable. What if this wasn't recent technology at all? Some researchers quietly raised the idea of pre-modern engineering, lost expeditions, experimental Cold War devices never recovered, ancient metalworking cultures capable of more than textbooks admit. Most dismissed it as fantasy. Until a classified leak changed the entire story. In early 2025, engineers reviewing defense contractor forums noticed a post that vanished within hours. It mentioned a project with a strange name, Project Mimir. According to the leak, Mimir was an experimental autonomous deep-sea crawler developed jointly by a Scandinavian AI lab and an East Asian defense contractor. The goal was ambitious, maybe reckless. Build a machine that could operate untethered at extreme depth for over 6 months. No human contact, no resurfacing, no external control. Fully autonomous. In late 2024, a prototype began pressure testing off the coast of Taiwan, and then it vanished. The last recorded ping showed it descending past 8,000 meters. That was already below its rated limit. Engineers assumed the hull imploded and wrote the project off as a total loss. But now the timing looked suspicious, because that disappearance happened the same month the Mariana sensors detected movement. There was just one problem. Deep-sea currents don't drift machines across half the Pacific. They're mapped, they're slow, they're predictable. Whatever appeared in the trench didn't float there, it traveled there, under power. And according to the next wave of readings, it never stopped moving. But motion wasn't the strangest part of the data. What came next sounded less like machinery and more like intelligence. Not long after scientists confirmed that something mechanical was moving along the trench floor, a second anomaly appeared. And this one was harder to ignore. Near the Caroline Islands, an autonomous hydrophone buoy operated by a private marine listening network began recording a new sound pattern. At first, it seemed harmless. Low-energy clicks, barely above background noise, easy to dismiss as drifting debris or distant tectonic friction. Until engineers noticed the timing. Every burst arrived exactly 42 seconds apart. Not roughly, not approximately, exactly. And each burst lasted precisely 3.14 seconds. 3.14. The mathematical constant, pi. The odds of natural ocean noise producing that timing by accident are effectively zero. When analysts isolated the acoustic fingerprint, the result was unsettling. There was no cavitation, no propeller wash, no exhaust turbulence, nothing that suggested engines, rotors, or thrusters. Just clean, rhythmic pulses, like a clock, like a system cycling through a routine. Even stranger, after each pulse burst, temperature sensors near the trench floor recorded a subtle rise, 1/10 of a degree Celsius, barely measurable, but consistent. Every pulse, every time. Something down there was generating heat, which meant one thing: it still had power. At 11 kilometers depth, with no tether, no surface support, no recovery effort, and yet no country claimed it. No Navy issued a statement. No research agency acknowledged a malfunction. No corporation reported a lost vehicle. The silence was complete, which left scientists facing an uncomfortable question. Had humanity built something it could no longer track? Or had someone else built it first? While intelligence analysts debated origins, another detail quietly emerged. The pulses weren't random. When engineers graphed the sequence, subtle variations appeared. Tiny changes in spacing, micro-shifts in amplitude. Not noise, structure, patterns. Several marine engineers independently reached the same conclusion and wrote it in internal notes that were never meant to leave their labs. This wasn't just propulsion. It looked like signaling. But signaling to whom? There were no receivers nearby, no research stations in range, no satellites listening underwater, which meant the only possible listener was something else in the trench. And that realization led to the most chilling discovery yet, because while everyone was focused on the sounds, something else had already started flashing in the darkness. And whatever was flashing wasn't natural either. In early 2025, a quiet NOAA research program deployed 2 deep-sea gliders near opposite sides of the Mariana Trench. These weren't exploration subs. They were slow, silent machines designed to drift for weeks, mapping temperature, pressure, and light. That last sensor almost never records anything, because at 11 kilometers down, there is no light. No sunlight penetrates that far. No bioluminescent creature has ever been confirmed at that depth. Any glow at all must come from technology. And yet, late one night, both gliders logged something impossible. A soft blue flash, then 6 more. 6 pulses, a pause, then 6 again. Both gliders recorded the exact same pattern, kilometers apart. Different paths, opposite trench walls, yet perfectly synchronized. No organism flashes like that. No natural process coordinates light across distance. That level of precision requires design. And then the timing changed. The flashes stopped the moment the trench crawler began to move, as if something had been waiting. That's when researchers noticed what lay nearby: undersea cables. 99% of the world's internet runs through fiber optic lines on the ocean floor. Emails, banking, military traffic. Several of the largest cable routes pass less than 50 kilometers from the trench. When engineers compared flash timing with network logs, they found something unsettling. During each light event, packet delays appeared on nearby routes. Milliseconds, small but consistent. Then came the detail no one wanted to publish. When the flash sequences were converted into binary, they matched the structure of internet data packets, which meant something in the trench wasn't sending messages, it was listening, reading traffic directly from the backbone of the global internet. And when researchers mapped the crawler's path, it wasn't wandering, it was following the cables, meter by meter, mapping them, inspecting them, or preparing to cut them. But before anyone could react, the trench did something no one expected. It spoke. On March 15, 2025, a listening station near Guam detected a signal it wasn't meant to hear. A low pulse rising out of background noise, 7 seconds long. Inside it, structure. 2 deep booms, 1 sharp pulse, then a controlled echo. Not fading, returning. When engineers cleaned the signal, what remained was unnerving. Perfect spacing, perfect symmetry, no distortion. No earthquake, no animal, no natural event produces sound that clean. They named it quietly, the trench ring. Over the next 2 weeks, it appeared 9 more times, always from the deepest zone. During one event, a glider recorded a pressure shift, brief, heavy, consistent with something extremely large moving through water, not listed in any naval database. That's when a researcher compared it to an old recording, the bloop. When he overlaid the waveforms, they matched. Exactly. Same rhythm, same spacing, same fingerprint. Separated by nearly 30 years, which meant either the same machine had been active since the 1990s or something far older had always been there. Some analysts proposed an unsettling idea. This wasn't a vehicle, it was part of a buried system, a structure embedded in the seafloor, slowly waking in response to human activity. Every time we scanned, drilled, mapped, the sounds followed, as if responding or warning. But the real shock came later, because for the first time, the trench didn't just send a signal, it received one and answered. In late April 2025, a French monitoring system detected a weak quake-like signal off Papua New Guinea. 7 seconds long, same rhythm, same structure, but reversed. One analyst wrote a sentence that never reached the public. This is not an echo. This is a reply. Soon after, a Chinese deep-sea drone descended toward Challenger Deep. 12 minutes after passing 10,600 meters, all contact vanished. No implosion, no beacon, no wreckage. 3 days later, a Guam station picked up something else. Not sound, data. A damaged digital packet leaking through underwater sensors, mostly unreadable, except 4 numbers: 12, 18, 20, 25, repeated 3 times. Someone read it differently. 12, 18, 20, 25. A date: December 18th, 9 days away. The packet had formatting, checksums, deliberate structure. Something beneath the trench had transmitted a date, prediction, activation, warning, deadline. No one said which.
But one word began circulating in classified briefings: countdown. Because if something intelligent was operating 11 kilometers beneath the ocean, and it had just scheduled an event, then whatever was happening in the trench wasn't ending. It was approaching. And long before satellites and sensors, someone else had warned about this exact moment. For thousands of years, the Chamorro people of Guam told stories about sleepers beneath the deep, guardians resting in the trench, protecting something that must never be disturbed. Their legends described lights from below, thunder from the abyss, and one warning: those who dig too deep will awaken what was meant to sleep. When elders were shown modern data, the lights, the sounds, the heat signatures, they recognized it immediately. This is what the stories describe. And these warnings weren't isolated. Across Micronesia and Polynesia, different cultures told the same tale. Lights in the abyss, guardians beneath the seabed, consequences for disturbance. What unsettled researchers wasn't mythology, it was consistency. While communities warned, corporations raced. Mining firms surveyed aggressively, searching for rare metals. Then internal memos leaked, equipment responding to commands never given, navigation systems losing control. One directive ended every report: classify all trench data, suspend public reporting immediately. After that, survey missions stopped, budgets vanished, insurance refused coverage, corporations sold Pacific assets at a loss, fast. Satellite analysts noticed something worse. Every mining operation date matched signal spikes: sound, light, heat, as if the system reacted to digging itself, which meant one terrifying thing: whatever lay beneath the trench was responding to us. And now, with days left on the countdown, the world's most powerful militaries were heading toward the same point on the map. By early December 2025, naval traffic began shifting quietly toward the Mariana region. Submarines repositioned. Research ships appeared. Military assets moved without explanation. When analysts overlaid the paths, every deployment converged on Challenger Deep. The United States moved first, then China, then Japan. Attack submarines, sonar fleets, experimental deep-sea drones. 3 rivals, 1 location, no statements. At the same time, corporations vanished from the region. Mining shut down, permits suspended, insurance withdrawn. Emergency meetings followed, UN briefings, security councils, classified negotiations. 2 factions formed. One demanded immediate action: map it, recover it, destroy it if necessary. The other urged restraint. No one knew what it was, or what destroying it might trigger. Island nations demanded moratoriums, but law moved slowly, and time was running out. Because by now, everyone knew the date: December 18th, 9 days away. Ships kept arriving, sonar swept deeper, military traffic spiked. The world wasn't preparing for research, it was preparing for confrontation. And yet no one could answer the most important question of all. What exactly were they about to confront? Because the countdown was still running. Here we are, 9 days from a date sent from the deepest point on Earth. What do we know for certain? Something mechanical is moving along the Mariana Trench. It follows undersea cables. It responds to seismic surveys and human activity. It flashes light in patterns identical to binary internet traffic. It produces mathematically precise sound pulses. It generates heat detectable from space. It has sent a deliberate signal, a date. Multiple nations have converged with military-grade equipment. Corporations have quietly abandoned extraction plans. Indigenous communities have been issuing warnings for centuries. Yet no one knows exactly what will happen when that countdown ends. The scenarios range from benign to catastrophic. Best case, a spy system marking mining operations. Moderate, a defense system protecting deep-sea resources. Worst, a long-dormant structure awakening in response to our intrusion, a system beyond human control, preparing to act. And maybe the most important question isn't what will happen. It's what choice we will make. Do we continue exploiting the depths of our planet? Do we respect boundaries we don't fully understand? Do we acknowledge that the Mariana Trench may contain forces, technology, or guardians that humanity was never meant to disturb? 9 days. 9 days to listen or conquer. 9 days until the decision made beneath the crushing darkness of the deepest point on Earth is revealed. And when the clock strikes 0, there may be no going back. The abyss is watching. Are we ready to answer?